Okay, welcome to another episode of the Hanukkah Erotica Book Club podcast. I'm Raizel, your co-host. I'm joined by my co-host, Malya.
Hello.
Hi, Mal.
Hi.
My co-host and stepsis.
That's me.
And we are here tonight with what a book. But before we get there, Mal,
Yes.
I think we do have some catching up to do.
We have a little catching up.
I don't know what's on your list.
I have a couple things, but you can start.
Jonah Platt's back with some more masculine Jewish jewelry.
Is he? Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, he's back with an ahava chunky ring.
No. Wait, like the one, like the
Yes.
4 letters in a
Yes.
square? Oh, great.
Yeah, but like a nice chunky masculine piece
of course.
of Hamish jewelry.
Great.
Yeah,
I hope there's a affiliate link.
there is an affiliate
there.
link, I think.
Good.
I'm choking. A
Right.
thirst trap, an affiliate link. Just gonna take a sip.
What is it? Is it just like a hand?
It's like a portrait mode hand.
Oh, good.
It's artistic.
Amazing. I have to check it out.
So I needed to talk to you a little bit about that.
I completely missed it. I can't believe it. I thought I was up on him, but I'm gonna look.
Your algorithm didn't serve you the new jewelry?
It's bizarre because I actively click on his profile all the time, so I don't know how to. Oh, I see it. Oh yeah,
It's just-
yeah.
I couldn't have described it better as a portrait mode.
Oh my god! And the best one is that he has one of like he's wearing a tank top, and you can see the ahava chunky ring, his masculine Jewish star necklace, and the tat, the Gamza Yavor tat, peeking out of the side of the tank top.
It's literally
Oh my god! I mean,
a
come
horny
on.
Jewish thirst trap. I mean, we can have a
It's-
calendar just of these.
I really hope that's in the works.
Yeah, and he gets a kick out of our Jonah Platt love, and I appreciate that.
Totally. It's
Yeah.
really
He likes the shtick,
it's very sweet.
but it's sincere. Honestly, it's not even so shticky.
Of course.
Anyway, I had to talk to you about that.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that to my attention.
Okay, in non-Jewish romance news, I saw that you posted about the author of Sweet Valley High. Did you want to talk about this today?
Yes, that's on my list. That's like
Okay.
number 1, basically.
Okay, you go first.
Well, I was going to say, I saw that that Francine Pascal, author of the Sweet Valley High series, died. I started telling William he had no interest and didn't know what I was talking about. But I'm glad I decided to take it to Instagram and just say, like, where are all the elder millennials to whom I'm sure, like me, Francine Pascal and all the Sweet Valley series are very beloved. And, like, we need to, although to me, Francine Pascal's books are, like, the ultimate of goyishness. Like, I feel like there's not one Jewish character reference, nada. It's, like, all blonde-haired, blue-eyed non-Jews. But then someone wrote to me that she was a Jew, Francine Pascal.
Oh
And
my
then I
God.
looked it up, and according to her interviews, she was raised in a Jewish household.
Wow, that's a surprise.
Big surprise.
So, did you want to do a spin-off podcast? Because I did a little research.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
it that you are interested in doing are you interested in doing a Sweet Valley High spin-off? There are. I did research. They already exist, but that
Okay.
doesn't mean we can't do it.
So the thing is that you directed me years ago to the My So-Called podcast, which was
Yeah.
just literally just 2 people recounting the plots of My So-Called Life episodes. And I would have thought, like, why would that be entertaining? But it was great. And I kind of feel like I hope somebody's already doing that with the Sweet Valley High books because there's a million
It
of
seems
them.
like there's 2 Sweet Valley High book clubs or like recap podcasts. There's one called Sweet Valley Hive, which is good.
Cute.
Good name. And then it seems like there's one that does a lot of kind of different old books. It's called Teen Creeps, which is a funny name. But it seems that they have done a ton of Sweet Valley High. And so I feel like it's already, listen, your dad once told me this, that he said about publishing, like many years ago. Like I feel like 18 years ago we were talking and they're like, you should make a cookbook. You should write a cookbook. I'm like, what would I do? There's already so many cookbooks. He's like, no. When there's so many of something, it means that there's a market for it. He's like, if you're working in publishing and no one's made a book on paperweights, they don't want a book on paperweights. They don't know where to put a book on paperweights. They don't know where to shelve a book on paperweights. They don't know how to market a book. But like vegetarian cookbooks, like that's a whole category. My point of this is to say, if there are already a few, because there's multiple, by the way, My So-Called Life podcasts. Not just My So-Called podcast. Yeah, there's also there's a bunch. There's a few. Go Now Go is one, I think, which is like what she says at the.
I love that. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know.
But also back to the My So-Called podcast. It's not just like two random people. It's like two major podcasters from True Crime Obsessed.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. To me, they were just two funny people.
Yeah, they're very funny, but they're like major. They have like a podcast empire now. But back when they did that, they didn't yet. They were like starting out.
Yeah, because then it seemed like, and then at the very end, they got Winnie Holzman to come on their show, and they were so excited. It felt like it was a grassroots thing, like not like they were some.
They had already started this True Crime Obsessed podcast, which is very big, but now they have like a con every year. Just like they have like a huge following.
Got it.
Patrick Hines and Jillian, whoever that. Yeah. Also scandals, like a lot of scandals. Like there was like something that happened at that True Crime Obsessed con, like some like all sorts of stuff.
It's like a whole world. Okay,
a whole world.
Got it. Okay. Well,
but anyway, we digress.
Yes,
we've been doing that a lot lately, and I enjoy it. The point is, just because there are two Sweet Valley High podcasts doesn't mean the world's not ready for a Malya and Raizel one. Just saying.
Are you saying that you share my interest?
I would consider. We can even just start with one book.
So here's what I was thinking is just that, like I said, I was, first of all, the name Francine Pascal sounds very not Jewish. And the books to me were just like, to me, they were a fantasy because they were nothing like my very Jewish life whatsoever. But knowing now that she was a Jewish woman, I would love to do a little research and see if there were any books that had any kind of Jewish representation or reference, and maybe we could just take one of those and do an episode of this podcast about it.
Yeah, I like that idea. I feel like a good place to start is to ask the Sweet Valley Hive podcasters.
Oh yeah, they know the canon for sure, and
they definitely do.
I mean, it's very daunting because there's a bazillion of those books.
Yeah. I just looked it up. It's like 174 or something.
And then there were all the other, like there was the Sweet Valley twins that were like them in middle school. There was Sweet Valley University that were them in college.
There's like a vampire trilogy apparently, because I just saw that during my research of looking for podcasts.
Oh, wow. Geez, that I did not know. There was a whole like spin-off bunch where there was like some creepy like single white female style woman who was stalking them and wanted to kill one of them and steal their identity.
Honestly, this sounds amazing. I feel like I might want to go back and read all of them.
They were really good.
I did read them, but I read The Babysitter's Club more. But I read them.
I think I read them equally.
It was a different time. It was almost like a different time, though.
Right.
Sweet Valley High was a little older.
A little older. Sweet Valley University, I'm pretty sure I like actually had the sex talk from my mom as a direct result of asking her like what the word condom meant in like the 4th book of Sweet Valley University.
Oh my God. Memorable.
Very, very.
Sweet Valley University is like the Saved by the Bell, the college years to Sweet Valley High.
Exactly.
A series I loved.
I loved it too. I think it's controversial, but I loved it.
Oh, I loved the college years. I loved it. I mean, I loved all of Saved by the Bell, but also the college years. There's a really good Saved by the Bell podcast, by the way.
Oh,
really good ones.
Genius. That's great material.
Really, I find them very entertaining. Yeah.
So good. Okay, well, let's
yeah.
try. First of all, I'm really touched that you researched Sweet Valley High podcast based on my post.
Yeah, of course.
And second of all, I'm going to try to find a Jewish angle.
Great. I really do think you should start with the podcasters of Sweet Valley High, who I'm sure we could find on the internet.
Great.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Okay.
Also wanted to mention that the author of Wake Me Most Wickedly wrote a very cute comments on...
We made her laugh.
Yeah. First of all, it seems like she listened to the podcast right away when it was posted.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
She was right on it, which was cool.
Yeah.
Although, to be honest, if I wrote a book and then some podcast dedicated a whole episode to it, I'd be right on it, too.
Literally drop everything.
Yeah,
I would do like a spit take and listen immediately.
Absolutely. But then she was also a little bit taking a page from your mom's book and kind of live commenting to us. It felt like as she was listening to the
about who's book 1 and who's book 3 and who's book 4.
Yeah.
Because we are getting a Tamar book, but it's book 4, not book 3.
Right.
Book 3 is going to be Rebecca.
Right. Who's Rebecca?
Literally no idea. For someone who's read the book twice and also the first book, maybe once or twice, plus I listened to it, who's Rebecca?
I have no idea.
There's too many characters.
Be like, don't you know? Malya.
No.
Okay. Well, whoever she is, I'm excited for her book.
I'm going to love her story.
I'm sure it'll be great. And I think it's coming soon. I think it's coming next year or something like that.
I simply can't wait. But by the way, simultaneously, I commented on Gene Meltzer's post because Gene Meltzer posted that, holding a box, being like, I'm sending all these books to all these Jewish bookstagrammers. So I commented that we're gonna review her next, not review, but podcast about book club about her next book in August when it comes out. But if it's helpful to her for us to read it in advance, we can read in advance, record in advance, and release it on the release date.
Right.
And she was like, email me. That's so exciting. I'm so honored.
Awesome.
I'll do whatever I can do to help. And so I emailed her.
Great. That's so nice. Very sweet.
So nice.
Cool.
So it's a small world of Jewish bookstagrammers and Jewish podcasters and Jewish writers.
Love it. Love being a part of it.
Yeah. It's really, really nice. Zach to the Future is, by the way, the name of that Saved by the Bell podcast I was talking about.
Zach to the Future.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's, if I remember correctly, it started off as a series of YouTube videos about what a dick Zach Morris was.
Huh. He was kind of a dick.
And it's a whole YouTube thing about that. Anyway, back to Gene Meltzer. We emailed. She'll probably send us an advanced reader copy and maybe we'll get going.
Amazing. Can't wait.
I'm worried about, I hope that book is as Jewish as the others.
Oh, right. The description wasn't as obviously Jewy.
Right. I'm just hoping it's just that way so people buy it, and then it really is.
Okay, well, we got to read and learn.
Let's see.
Yeah, we got to see.
Okay. Should we tell them what we're doing tonight? Is there anything else to catch up on?
I don't know. I feel like I'm stalling. but no, I think we should just go there.
I was laughing to myself earlier thinking that I'm going to somehow be like, Mal, why don't you take this one and lead us in the discussion?
Well, I was laughing because I was looking back at the Kindle Unlimited book that I read, and I realized that there is actually an audiobook of this book.
No.
Yes. And the idea that I might have possibly gotten that audiobook and started listening to it, even the prospect of it filled me with horror.
Okay, I'm actually filled with regret. That would have been great for me.
No. Oh my God. Oh, no.
My God. First of all,
cannot.
We are reading The Blue Tent, Erotic Tales from the Bible by Laria Zylber. Laria Zylber told us about this book on my Instagram.
Yep.
No, on our, both of us told, just on the Hanukkah, on our podcast Instagram.
Yep.
And we went for it.
We did.
This is not like anything we've ever read before.
Nope. No, it is not. I mean, it's actually, like you said, it's actually erotica, which...
It's erotica.
Contrary to the name of the podcast, but that's not really what we read.
Right. We made a podcast with a funny name because it rhymes with Hanukkah and we're reading Jewish romance.
Exactly.
And I stand by it. It's great. But this is actual erotica.
Right.
This is written porn.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I don't even know that it would. I guess it's a lot. Some of it is romantic style, right?
Yeah, but you mean
No?
like sweet romance?
It's not really romance.
Sometimes they say sweet nothings.
Right. That doesn't really count. Yeah, it's not romance.
At least walk us through the premise here.
Okay, so the premise. So the book's called The Blue Tent: Erotic Tales from the Bible, and the premise is that like somebody finds like some kind of alternative manuscript, like Dead Sea Scrolls style, which is like the Dead Sea Scrolls, for anyone who doesn't know, are manuscripts that were found from ancient times, some of which were written contemporaneous to some of the later books of the Bible. They were discovered like in caves and they were preserved because of, they're in the desert and it's dry and whatever. And so they're like old versions of texts of the books of the Bible and other like books that were written at the same time. So the premise is that a female, I guess, I don't know what, archaeologist finds a similar scroll, but it's like a female version of stories from the Bible that are all like just sex.
Yes.
Between biblical characters.
Right.
And each chapter is sex between characters in the Bible. And like many of them start with a quote from the actual Bible that I guess is sort of like the jumping off point for these imagined sexual encounters between biblical characters.
So it's like reimagining biblical stories and reimagining biblical relationships to weave in the sex that's spoken about in the Bible. We know that they're together physically.
Sure.
But just that's it. We know that they're together, they have kids, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And this is, instead of just implied sex, the most explicit sex we've read in this book club.
It's just right. It's like you said, it's just pornographic scenes.
It's almost like initially I was like, I'll just do some dramatic readings.
Okay.
But like, I don't know, like we have jobs and kids. Like, I don't know.
Right. Like, do you want a clip of you reading those things that could be taken out of context?
There's nothing wrong with it. Like, we didn't write this, but it's like, I don't know that I could say it.
And I actually I don't know if there's a paragraph you could read that wouldn't, like, I don't think there's a less explicit paragraph.
No, because on every page, like I said in the last episode, just kind of gearing up for today's episode, there's oral sex on every page.
Absolutely. I think that's literally true.
There's a lot of touching. There's a lot of pounding. There's so much coming and yelling.
There's a lot of yelling. Right.
And demanding. There's a lot of different kind of roles, which I, think is cool to see. They seem to know a lot already about like what they want, and like for the first people in the world, I mean, I guess Adam's a little confused because at the beginning there's Lilith.
Right. I know Lilith is like Lilith's like kind of a character that I think, I don't know, I think modern Jewish feminism has sort of claimed as their kind of mascot, but isn't really in the actual Bible at all.
Yeah, but she is here, and she's
she sure is. Yeah, she kind of teaches him what he needs to know, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's just so much. It's so much. The description of the book sort of makes it seem like these stories are going to like really turn you on, and you're going to read them over and over alone and with your partner.
Or partners.
Right. don't know that that happened for me.
Right.
I'm curious how you felt reading them.
Yeah, no, wouldn't say that this is something I would return to over and over. To be honest, like, I appreciate, so I guess, listen, to each their own, and I support everyone doing their own thing, but I feel like the stories get a little repetitive, right? I mean, like, you're sort of describing the same type of thing with the same progression kind of over and over again. So it's like, without any, like, when we read romance, I feel
Because you want the plot.
the plot is what makes the sex scene, even if it is like a pretty explicit scene, and we've read books that have those, it's the plot and the build-up that makes it unique and interesting and sexy. To just have like sex, sex, sex over and over again, it starts to feel a little bit like, okay, like sort of just a series of kind of identical motions. I understand there's some variety, like for example, like in the story about Joseph, it's like imagining, well, like for example, like in the story of Joseph, when Joseph gets sold into slavery in Egypt, he winds up as a slave for Potiphar, who's like a high up, official in Egypt, and Potiphar's wife in the actual biblical story, like, comes on to Yosef and Yosef refuses. And but in this story, it's like she seduces him, and there's like a whole scene where there's like Joseph is watching her with other men and then joins it. So like there's different permutations where sometimes it's 2 people, sometimes it's 3 people, sometimes it's
It was definitely a big group.
That one had a big group. That was like there 4 or 5.
There was a big group.
Baby.
There were balls. There were a lot of balls.
There were a lot of balls. But it's still, like I said, so I understand that there's an attempt to like mix it up to a degree, but do you know what I mean?
Yes, like I think what you would rather is the whole book about Adam and Lilith or Adam and Eve, the whole book, the meet cute, the lead up, the angst, the almost breaking up, the will they, won't they.
Exactly. And then give me this scene, a couple of these scenes interspersed, and I think I'd be with it, not as an audiobook, but I would be into it.
Sure.
But just this without the rest of it.
Right.
Also, to be honest with you, there were some words that I didn't know.
Ooh.
Okay, like what?
Is it mossy cleft? Because that was...
Is it what?
I know. I'll repeat it when I can get it out. Was it mossy cleft? I said.
No.
Because I'm on a page right here. Sorry to cut you off. I want to hear what you want to say. I really want to hear the word.
Wait, which story is that?
He knew from Eve's groans that she was enjoying this. He slowly moved his hand to her crotch and slid his finger into her mossy cleft. It's another way to describe pubic hair. There's a lot of hair in the book.
There's so much hair.
Which was warm, wet, and welcoming. He ran his tongue around her ear, his warm breath tickling Eve, yet also sending excitations throughout her body. This next sentence, though, I have to keep going. Adam was now fully erect and took his penis and rammed it up Eve's love tunnel, banging and thrusting away. Eve wasn't sure if she was having pleasure or pain.
Oh, man. Wow.
This is their first time. It was horrible, honestly.
Yeah, it didn't sound so good.
Okay, keep going.
It wasn't
mossy
story?
cleft.
Also, no, but there was the word muff. Which, like, to me, is that a sexy word? Like...
No, it's like a gross to me. That's like a word like football players use, like in the 80s, like in that dumb book. Not dumb book, in that Toxic Male Summertime Jews book. Like, they were muff diving. Like, that's what muff is. To me.
Totally. It's like dated and gross. So muff kind of pulled me out of the moment, to be honest with you.
Oh my God.
William's asking, does Adam ask Eve, how do you like them apples?
That's funny. That would have been good, actually.
Yeah, that would have been good. There was a lot of opportunity for jokes, but this book is very serious.
Yeah, it's not, there's no humor in this book. This is just fucking.
Is utterly serious about.
Yeah, Lilith spread her legs and took her middle finger and started sliding it up and down between her golden, hairy muff.
Oh my God.
Yeah, muff. Okay. Any other words? There were a lot. This would have been a good...
This word I genuinely don't know. Kestra?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, I thought it might be something you knew.
It sounds like a penis. I mean, that's what
It's
I
definitely a
gathered.
penis.
Right.
No, you could tell from the context clues. Like if this was a CTBS test.
Yes. Well, I got that. I picked up those context clues, but I literally Googled it and nothing came up.
Oh, interesting.
So I mean,
Laria, if you're listening,
what?
it's not Googleable. Tell us more.
And then there's another word in that same section, I think, which was the Rebecca and Isaac section.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That started with a V and was like another word for vagina, it seemed, but I had also never heard it before. It was like
Oh. Find it. Okay, yeah, Kestra's all over. There's
with
tons.
his ramrod Kestra.
Yeah, it's obviously the context clues make it clear because he's often grinding his Kestra. and
Ramrod.
and he watched as Isaac moved his hands to her large round breasts, kneading them like they were loaves of dough while grinding his Kestra into her bottom.
But you've never heard that word before, just to be clear.
Oh, no. Sorry if that wasn't clear. I have never heard the word Kestra.
Okay, good. We're on the same page.
But he closed his eyes and brought his hand down to his hardening Kestra and started stroking it. So there's no gray area here about what Kestra is.
Right.
Yeah, it is, we know. But also there was a lot of like ointments and oils, and I didn't know if those were like specifically biblical or historical or just like something she's coming up with.
Right. There was definitely there were scenes where there was like olive oil nearby and they just like grabbed it and used it as
Yes, that
lube.
makes sense. They were in the Middle East. I bet that olive oil was amazing.
Sure. There's always a good jar of olive oil around. What was that word? The V word. I can't find it now.
There was a V word I didn't know either.
I thought it was in the same thing as Kestra.
I found it.
What?
I found the word. What did you say?
Yeah, what is it?
Did you find it?
No.
Okay. Abimelech had only one true blonde woman in his harem, and he asked his guards to bring her to him. While he waited, he watched as Isaac burrowed his head into Rebecca's... I would say it's like Viergie. It's Vierjie. Can you Google that? Vierjie. That's definitely the word you were looking for, right?
Yeah, that is. My Google search is going to be a nightmare now.
Head into Rebecca. You have to go into incognito for that. His head into Rebecca's Viergie, licking her most intimate parts while Rebecca writhed in pleasure on the bed.
Wait, it's Vierjre?
I-E, sorry. I-E.
J-I-E.
I'm so glad you remembered that, and then I found it. Oh, there's others.
There's literally no results.
Okay, yeah, I think maybe she made it up. Like, I can't even say what I'm about to say, but like, I will say it. But like, growing up, like my family had a different word for that body part.
Oh yeah, what?
And it was puppy, which is I have like. My Auntie Flo used it.
That's so cute.
That was like an Auntie Flo word, like Auntie Flo. My grandparents, my mom, I'm sure maybe my aunt said it, but like their daughter, like my Aunt Lenore with their daughter, I have no idea, but like puppy is a word that was used growing up. And then at a certain point, I was like, that's not a word I will be using. And I've never said it again since in like probably 30-something years.
Great. Well, I'm glad to bring it back.
30-something years. No one knows. Mitch doesn't know about the word. No one knows. Puppy. I've said it now 3 or 4 times. Anyway, do you think that this is just like a made up word? Because there's 5 times in this book where she writes Viergie. Here's another one. Isaac got down on his knees in between her legs and ever so gently started stroking her Viergie with the olive oil. There it is. And running his hands through her soft blonde pubic hair. I already read you the...
I think it's made up.
Mara felt a spasm of joy run throughout her Viergie area. As these carnal feelings increased, so did her speed, and like Rebecca, she found herself in the throes of ecstasy, enjoying her king's Kestra surging inside her.
Wow.
Okay,
see, that's what I'm saying, is like there's a need to like find new words to like mix it up because it's repetitive.
You just needed more plot. Here's what it is. I think that there's a time and a place for erotica.
Yes. Sure.
I think. And they think that there's an interest. I also feel like is it sacrilegious is a question I have. Like,
oh, well,
because
yeah, go on, please.
Yep, you know, just take it away.
I thought of this because at the end she has a bibliography of sources where she got, I mean, I'm not literally this material, but that she drew from, I guess, to like create these apocryphal stories. And one of them is like an article from Chabad.org by Tzvi Freeman. And I was just thinking, like, Tzvi Freeman, like, what would his reaction be to being a source for this book?
Hilarious.
Like,
that wasn't his intention.
No, not what he meant to inform.
Because it's like, on one hand, I'm always like, Jewish representation is so cool. And like, I really mean that. That's like, I mean it when we read books. And it's like, there's all different kinds of Jewish families. There's all different kinds of Jewish characters. There's all different kinds of ways to be Jewish and all that. But like, this is just like horny, biblical characters. And I believe that they were.
Sure.
But I don't know. I don't know the answer to whether or not it's sacrilegious.
Neither do I. I'll tell you, like, if there was one story that I was sort of like, I wasn't so into the plot, if you could call it that, is like the Abraham and Sarah story. Like, that was sort of like, I guess the whole idea is that like Abraham and Sarah were, they couldn't have children for a long time. And then finally there's like this miracle where Sarah becomes pregnant, even though she's like very old, like 90, like way too old to naturally become pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Like 27 in all the books we're reading. But
exactly. Like washed up at 32 or whatever. So, but in this story, it's like, she's kind of like a dried up old lady. And then the miracle is that like, she becomes like a horny young woman again. Like, she's all like wet and easy, like whatever, like, ready to go. And she and Abraham have like this hot encounter, and the whole idea is that like they haven't had sex in many years because they're so sort of like old and can't do it anymore. But the miracle is like now they can. And I don't know, that was sort of like, I don't know about sacrilegious, but it felt a little depressing to me. Like, I'd like to think people could continue to be connected and intimate as they get older. It wouldn't have to be like such a miracle. I don't know. Felt a little. Didn't like that one so much.
I hear you.
The conceit.
Yeah, she climbed on Abraham's hard dick and let out a long, low moan. How good it felt to have him inside her again. She sighed with pleasure and wrapped her arms around him, pulling his head between her breasts. As she rode gently up and down on him, Abraham sucked her breast while pulling her ass into him, their loins grinding and pressing. It had been so long since she'd had him inside her. It felt like a reawakening from the inner depths of her body, stimulating feeling she hadn't experienced since she was a bride. My angel, my love, my life, my dove, he whispered. I want you more than ever before, he said, just before he came inside of her. She felt him explode and rode him harder until she too exploded in ecstasy, crying out, Abraham, Abraham, my soul.
Okay. Missy, that didn't do it for me.
It didn't?
No.
I get it. Here's the thing. You know what?
William said, did she say she had never been with someone circumcised? Wait, was that before or after he was? I guess it was right after. Yeah, that might have been painful. She could have worked that in, actually. That's a good point.
That is a good point.
Yeah, that might
So you're saying there's not much here that's historically accurate?
I mean, I think that's what I'm saying. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. What do I know about historically accurate? I have no idea what's historically accurate. I could say like none of this is in the Bible.
Biblically.
None of this is in the Bible. No, like the Torah doesn't describe like you said. It says like he knew his wife. She became pregnant.
Yeah,
like
someone begets someone or whatever.
The rest is left to the imagination. I think there's no like descriptions of any of this stuff. The most descriptive there is like where Potiphar's wife does like pretty directly say in the actual text like come lie with me or something, and she grabs him and he pulls away. I think that's like as explicit as it gets. Right.
But it's not like here where it's like Abimelech watched as Rebecca's nipples grew hard and a smile played along her lips.
No, I don't remember it. I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
And that's actually the tamest lie. I can't even believe you found that. Line. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of...
Wow.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'll say.
Please. Yes.
If any of our listeners are horny for a kind of reimagining of Bible stories.
Yep.
go for it.
Here it
because
is.
it exists.
Yeah.
And if oils, a lot of pubic hair, a lot of sucking,
Right.
nibbling, screaming,
Right.
so much pubic hair in this book.
Yeah, like, see, look at this. Delightedly, Sarah, this is back to the Abraham and Sarah. Delightedly, Sarah straddled his face, and her old, achy body suddenly felt as if she were 20 years old again. She felt Abraham's tongue licking her inner thighs. Like, you know, come on.
Good reading, Mal. Keep going.
No. Not.
Yeah,
I need to recover
I hear
from
you.
that.
It's
Anyway,
like
I don't know. Yeah.
I hear you. I really do. But the thing is, this book has inspired us, I think, to read our next book.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
when we read this book, this is the first erotica we've really read, right?
Yeah, I think that's
And
yes.
so even though we did read like 8 Kinky Nights and they were like kink scenes, but it was different than this. This is really erotica. So
Because that book had a lot of plot. So
A
even
lot of
though
plot.
there were more sort of intense scenes, it wasn't just sort of
yeah, it wasn't just porn on a page.
Exactly.
It was actually a really long book. Okay.
Yeah.
So this book, Tales from the Blue Tent, reminded me, it's not anything like it. It's not at all. It just reminded me that I once, many years ago, read a book called Craving Flight by someone named Tamsin Parker.
Right.
And right before we went on at the Rip Bodice, you and I met Leah, who owns the Rip Bodice, and I think that Leah mentioned the book. I don't know how it came up. I don't know how that book came up. It didn't come up during our conversation. I don't think it came up, on air. Like, that came up in conversation before we went on about, maybe it was the only Jewish romance they had read before. I can't remember why, but I had forgotten all about this book, Craving Flight.
Mm-hmm.
So my proposition is that we read that one next. Can I tell you a little about it?
Please.
Okay, so it was a novella, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
That took place in a very frum community. I'm going to read you the about the book, but it was like a BDSM, like it was almost like from 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay.
Great.
And here's the about the book. Sipora Berger is 37 and single, which is practically unheard of in the Orthodox Jewish community she now calls home. Here we go again about that. Her increasing religiosity and need for kink may have broken up her first marriage, but she's decided it's time to try again, and the rabbi's wife has just the man in mind. Ilan Klein is the neighborhood butcher whose intimidating size and gruff manner hint at a deliciously forceful personality, but BDSM isn't exactly something you discuss during an Orthodox courtship. Will a marriage to Ilan solidify her place in the community that she loves and provide the domination and pain Sipora craves, or will she forever have to rely on flights of fancy to satisfy her needs?
Wow. Intense.
I can't even really pinpoint exactly why one book has reminded me of the other, but I'm grateful that it has, because I think it's time that we read Craving Flight.
Great. I'm into it.
I think it's on Kindle Unlimited also.
Perfect. If there's an audiobook, I'm not listening to it.
I don't think you should.
I will not. I know my limits.
So our listeners, that's what we're reading next. Craving Flight. Anything else we wanted to talk about before we wrap up? Anything else about the Blue Tent? Did you have some notes we didn't get to cover?
I think that was pretty thorough.
Yeah.
I appreciate the author reaching out, and I think that this was a nice addition to our repertoire.
Oh yeah, I'm very happy that we read it. It's always good to read something completely new.
Yeah.
I will absolutely recommend it. Sometimes people ask us for recommendations, and I ask them what they're looking for.
Totally.
And I will recommend this if the right person comes along, the right reader.
100%. And if I ever meet Zvi Freeman, I'm definitely directing him to this.
Oh, absolutely. And if I ever meet Laria, I'm asking about Kestra and Virigi.
Right. Totally. I would like to know.
Is it a family word?
Right. Like Puppy.
Because
What's
now
yours?
you all know mine.
Puppy?
Puppy.
Puppy.
Like
Puppy.
Pupik?
Like Pupik. Puppy. Cute.
Like Pupik, which is belly button, right?
Yes.
But it's like, it was really like, I believe that the origin was anti-flow. Like, I don't remember my grandma ever saying it. I've never heard her say it.
You think it was one of those words that like she mispronounced as a baby? You know, like those words where like
How to get started?
yeah, like it, and then it takes on a life of its own.
I feel like it was like when like people don't say the word and make up a word, like wee, like all those like, silly words people have for,
Yeah, sure.
penis and vulva.
Right, penis and vulva.
Instead of just saying the word, people make all sorts of things up.
That's true.
I know someone who calls it a front tushy, which really upset me.
That seems wrong.
Front tushy.
Yeah, that feels a little like, I don't know.
It's like
misleading.
Very misleading.
Yeah.
It ain't no front tushy, folks.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, Craving Flight's next.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. Okay. We did hear from Hanukkah Pong.
Great.
We told our listeners, but some people might be starting with this episode. And this podcast is sponsored by Hanukkah Pong, which is menorah-shaped beer pong available at newesttraditions.com. We have a special promo code to get a discount, 20% off. The promo code is Hanukkah Erotica, HANUKKAHEROTICA.
That's quite a mouthful of a promo code.
Hanukkah Erotica.
Right.
It should be like Mall 15. But anyway, it's not. It's Hanukkah Erotica, and you know how to spell that, listeners, because it's the name of this podcast.
Absolutely.
And this podcast is produced by William Levin. Follow us on Instagram at Hanukkah Erotica Book Club. We're available everywhere you listen to podcasts. Leave us a review. Rate us 5 stars. Follow us. Do all those things. And we'll can't wait to hear from you next time.
Thank you. How long was that? Yeah, we're done.